The opinions expressed by the host and guests in this show are not necessarily the views of Children's Health Defense.
Good morning, CHD. It is Sunday, the 16th of November, 2025, and welcome to This Week with Mary Holland, President of Children's Health Defense, and myself, Polly Tommy. Well, Mary, did we not just have a most fabulous conference?
Oh my gosh, Polly, it was so great. I wish that all of our viewers could have been there, but we will be sharing it for sure in many different ways over the next couple of months. But it was an amazing high, I think, for everybody who was there. Really, really amazing energy, fantastic presentations. Yeah, super.
And just so lovely to see each other in person. We needed that because we are a remote company. So it was lovely to see the real people that work behind the scenes at Children's Health Defence and thank them for all they do.
Yeah, it was great. Not only to meet with all the sort of people in the audience, but Polly, you hosted an event for the CHD staff, and that was so meaningful because we don't get to see each other in person, and it's not the same on video, by text, and by email. It's just not. So it was so wonderful for us all to be together. Not everybody, unfortunately, but most of us to be together. And for so many of us, it was like, oh my gosh, like you look so different than I thought you did. You know, you're taller, you're shorter, you're different looking than we know by video. So it was great.
Really fantastic. And yes, to those that missed it, we will be showing the panels at some point, but so hang on in there. It's coming. All right, let's get on with the news then. So the first report we have in the Defender, it's actually Bloomberg reporting Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s vaccine group to revisit childhood shots, particularly the hepatitis B. The CDC's key vaccine panel will reconvene in December to again weigh changes to the long-standing childhood immunization schedule. ACIP will meet December the 4th and 5th. We will be streaming that on CHD TV, so make sure you're signed up for your text alerts, because then we'll alert you when we're live with it. The panel will discuss the vaccine safety, the childhood and adolescent shot schedule, and the Hep B vaccine. So I am hoping, Mary, that we get rid of that at least at birth, please.
Yeah, I think that's going to happen, Polly. There's no justification whatsoever. There has never been a justification for a birth dose of hepatitis B, and I believe strongly that they will get rid of it, which will be phenomenal. Certain babies will absolutely get to live their lives with the withdrawal of the Hep B from the schedule. But, you know, we have to see it happen in real life, but that will be a wonderful day.
I have a question for you. So when the ACIP, CDC, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., even Trump come out and say, look, I don't know, Tylenol or whatever is not good while you're pregnant, why is HEB, our local food, why are they promoting Tylenol? Why aren't they listening? Why are the doctors still recommending Tylenol in pregnancy? It seems really bizarre to me that when the official people say don't do it, the main doctors, the white coat doctors, are not listening.
Well, Polly, you know, as we've discussed, I mean, these topics have become incredibly polarized. And so literally, if Bobby Kennedy says up, the whole medical establishment is going to be saying down. That's where we are right now. And if he says down, they're going to be saying up. That's unfortunately where we are. So pretty much anything that he says seems to be dismissed, and the opposite seems to be coming out from American Academy of Pediatrics, from American Medical Association. That's just where we are right now.
Marianne DeMasi in The Defender, what the godfather of vaccines said under oath and why it matters even more today. Under oath, vaccine pioneer Dr. Stanley Plotkin revealed how conflicts of interest, ethical blind spots, and scientific hubris have compromised vaccine safety. In a 2018 deposition with attorney Aaron Siri, Plotkin exposed experiments on vulnerable children, the absence of placebo-controlled trials, and complete disregard for post-marketing surveillance. It is important, actually, that people revisit that.
Yeah, so Marianne DeMasi is a really important reporter in our space in Australia. And so with Aaron Siri's book that just came out, Vaccines on Men, and we just interviewed him on CHG TV, she thought, you know, let me go back and read this 400-page, 9-hour deposition that Aaron Siri did with Stanley Plotkin in January 2018, Polly. And I remember when Aaron was preparing for this, and lots of us sent resources to him so that he would be maximally prepared for that long long and really important interview. And what Marianne Damasi is saying is absolutely correct, is that it's a chilling 9-hour deposition where Plotkin acknowledges that there is no informed consent, that he tested the products on children with mental incapacity, that there is no post-marketing surveillance, that he doesn't think that VAERS is significant, and that he has pervasive conflicts of interest that he doesn't even think are conflicts of interest, and that he is demeaning and mocking of people with religious convictions against the use of, against vaccine. He completely disavows any credence to the idea that people could have religious beliefs that violate the use of vaccines. And that's how Aaron Siri's book starts, Vaccines, Amen, is really with this deposition that is really foundational. If you want to understand how the vaccine industry, the paradigm, the ideology, the philosophy, if you will, of mandatory vaccines, listen or read this deposition. And the whole thing, that you can listen to it online, you can read it online, you can read big parts of it in the book. He is the godfather of the global vaccine program. So, kudos to Aaron for doing such a great job on this.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, Brenda Belletti in The Defender. Whistleblower biologist says Pfizer covered up her exposure to engineered virus and threatened her family. Molecular biologist Becky McLean discusses her new book, Exposed, a Pfizer scientific battle, corruption, lies, betrayal, and becomes a biohazard whistleblower. The book exposes dangerous safety lapses and corporate cover-up in Pfizer's biosafety, the labs, and McLean's decade-long fight for medical records and legal justice after she was infected with a genetically modified lentivirus.
So, Polly, I haven't yet read this book, but I can't wait to read it, actually. So this is this woman, and the foreword to her book is by Ralph Nader, sort of legend in consumer safety. This woman was working in a biosafety lab 2, a BSL-2 lab in Connecticut. BSL-2 is not the highest level like the Wuhan lab or Fort Detrick, which is BSL-4, but this was BSL-2, and she realized that they were doing gain-of-function research. And she realized that she had become infected, she believed, with this lentivirus, and her face was numb and her limbs were numb, and she literally thought she was going to die. She tried to get information from Pfizer, like what was in it what was I just exposed to? And they would not tell her. They said, oh, no, this is a trade secret. And so she left, she was fired. And she litigated for 10 years and got a judgment in 2010 acknowledging that she had been wrongly fired. She got 10 years of back pay. She got nothing for having been ill. Her husband was working at the FDA. The FDA, through pressure from Pfizer, was pushing out her husband. And in the settlement that was reached after 10 years of litigation, there was no obligation on Pfizer to remediate the hazards that made this woman sick in the first place. So I have a feeling we want to interview this woman on CHD TV, Polly. This is really important for people to understand the complete and utter lack of safety in these laboratories working with extremely dangerous biological and chemical agents. So I'm really looking forward to reading this. She really obviously goes into how they silence the scientists. And she says basically there's no free speech for scientists. So if you can imagine that this is happening in Connecticut at a BSL-2 lab, imagine what is happening in India and China in BSL-4 labs. And right now, Polly, put this in the context that the World Health Organization, which the U.S. is pulling out of, but the World Health Organization is trying to create this network of laboratories to exchange highly infectious agents. This is, I think, a really interesting and important book. I'm really looking forward to reading it.
Okay, TrialSite News here. Denmark study says COVID vaccine side effects are all in your head. The public isn't buying it. The study claims that many report vaccine side effects stem from worry. So it's just because you're worried, that's why you're sick, rather than the vaccines themselves. The findings sparked public outrage as patients and advocates accuse researchers of dismissing real suffering and undermining trust in health institutions. It's almost like that article has to be a joke, Mary.
Yeah, you'd think. This is just the typical gaslighting. This is being led by this Danish psychiatrist, Dr. Fink. This is ridiculous, but I'm so happy to see that there's just this public outrage of what are you talking about? This is ridiculous. But, Polly, we know this is hardly the first time that real injuries have been attributed by the mainstream to psychiatric disorders. This is standard operating procedure, unfortunately.
Especially with the Gardasil HPV victims, they were all told them in their head, psychological. So no, we're not having it. Daily Mail reporting, the Defender reprinted, I was a healthy physician who took the COVID shot and now I'm paralyzed. We are the vaccine industry's dirty little secret. Orthopedic surgeon Dr. Joel Walscog, author and Oxford University lecturer Sally Bailey, and business owner Rebecca Tomlin all received a COVID-19 vaccine, whether it was AstraZeneca, Pfizer or Moderna, and they were all diagnosed with transverse myelitis. So a couple of things there. One, we know these shots do that. And two, the Daily Mail's printing that. I mean, that's been shared everywhere on social media and watching it.
Yeah, that's great. I was really fortunate to be with Joel Walscog a couple days ago in Washington, D.C. And, transverse myelitis, I mean, his career was over, right? He was an orthopedic surgeon. You have to be able to stand. You can't suddenly have paralysis or fall. This is inflammation of the spinal cord. And, he's still not well, Polly. I mean, and I was sitting also with Brianne Dressen of React 19. They're co-founders of React 19. Neither one of them are free of their symptoms. They're both lucky to be alive, and they know that. But, they have lifelong, serious medical complications that literally destroyed the lives that they were leading because they took one dose, in both of their cases, one dose of a COVID shot.
Disgraceful. It was nice to see React 19 having a booth at the conference as well.
Oh, it was great to see them. They're very important people. They've really led the charge for the COVID vaccine injured.
Yeah. All right, Brenda Belletti, for nearly 20 years, poor kids were more likely to get a riskier MMRV vaccine. So this is poor children, as in poor financially, were more likely than those with private insurance to receive the combined MMRV vaccine. This is associated with high risk of seizures, according to Dr. Monique Johanan. The CDC's recent decision to end its endorsement of the MMRV shot corrects that inequity, but the agency still owes the public an explanation for why it took so long to act.
Absolutely, Polly. As soon as the MMRV, measles, mumps, rubella, varicella vaccine came out, it actually did have a warning that said it was a much higher risk of seizure. Why would anybody take that? The reason that they were giving this to children with, economic deprivation was because it's administratively easier. That's why they were doing it. And I think we're starting to see through a lawsuit that we did support on behalf of a pediatrician, Dr. Cardenas, against the CDC. We're starting to understand that there really was a double standard for, well, we know this, a double standard for poorer children and wealthier children with private insurance. The poorer children were subjected to the whole CDC schedule that Dr. Cardenas could not opt out of the COVID shots. And then the government changed the schedule. Now they're getting rid of the MMRV before age 4. The kids on Medicaid or CHIP, right, which is over half of American children, Polly, they were being subjected to a shot that had double the risk of seizures. Seizures are awful. They are truly awful. So there's so much to look at here. There's really so much that does have to be accounted for.
Yeah, well, in fact, people need to know that even the MMR, forget the V, it also has in bold writing on the inside seizures. It's just a common side effect. And you're right, they are awful. Michael Nevadakis in The Defender, unwinding the mess. The Department of Defense launches task force to investigate military COVID vaccine mandates. The Department of Defense said it will review the military's COVID-19 vaccine mandate, which led to the discharge of over 8,000 service members. The review aims to assess the policy's implementation and outcomes and will be focused on making sure that this never, ever happens again, said Anthony Tater, the Undersecretary of the War for Personnel and Readiness.
I'm very encouraged that the lawyer representing many of these people who were wrongly discharged from the military believes that they can reach some kind of accommodation, that they're now really going over individual cases and getting these people back to work if they want with some kind of accommodation, or some kind of back pay and so on. So it's encouraging.
Well, at the conference, we were very excited to release the teaser of a new children's health defense film that will be out June of next year, so not far away. Just before we play you the teaser, which we want you all to make sure that you've all seen, it was like another level of listening in on the interviews and things like that, because what these military members have been through actually does affect us all. It's really important all of us watch this documentary, because this is our defense. And if they're being treated like that, as they say in the documentary, it's coming to us soon. So we need to put a stop to it. But let's play the teaser and talk about it after that.
I had a battalion commander come to me and she said, "Dear God, we're killing our own soldiers."
We gathered today to honor the incredible service members.
We owe you our thanks. We owe you our respect. We owe you our freedom.
Just as we have gathered before to remember those who served, those who fought, and those who gave their last full measure of devotion for our country.
According to the Associated Press, the Pentagon is going to require vaccines for all service members.
I'm asking the Defense Department to look into how and when they will add COVID-19 to the list of vaccinations our armed forces must get.
The military was ordering service members to take a shot that they could not lawfully order them to take.
Are you choosing to be non-compliant? Get on the floor! Get on the floor!
Leaders did everything legal or illegal within their power to coerce and influence their service members to get the shot.
I'll never forget, I received a phone call from a mother whose son was a Marine at 29 Palms, and she told me her son and 9 other Marines were being held in confinement in the brig until they got vaccinated.
If you don't do what they tell you to do, they will ostracize you. They will destroy your life.
Stop resisting or you will get tased!
They threatened me with Leavenworth imprisonment. They banned me from all Army Public Health Center facilities for 413 days.
I counted over 140 days where I was put into isolation.
Once it becomes normalized in the military, it often very quickly finds its way into the civilian population, as we saw with the COVID mandate.
The effects extend well beyond just those in uniform, and the impact is really on the entire nation.
8,000 well-trained men and women were fired.
I lost my income. I lost my ability to feed my family.
I mean, I'm being told you're getting dishonorably discharged.
And if you get dishonorable, you lose everything. You can't get certain jobs as a civilian. It follows you for life.
You cannot mandate an experimental medical product. You cannot mandate that on military members.
In my entire medical career prior to this, I had never seen a young person with a stroke. I had never seen someone have a massive clot without provocation.
We were in great shape. We were doing very well. But then soon after the vax is when my health went downhill.
When people celebrate all the freedoms that the military gets to grant this country, when the military's freedoms and really the country's freedoms are actually being taken away.
Why was the vaccine mandate unlawful? How come the Secretary of War is telling us that the vaccine mandate was unlawful?
We all know that the previous administration issued unlawful orders on mandatory vaccines on an experimental vaccine, COVID-19. You know it, we know it.
You are taught that you have a duty to disobey unlawful orders.
You know, they postulated that we're going to have back pay for members that were kicked out. They're inviting these warriors back into service.
And that was huge. And I was so happy to hear that. But that does nothing for the institution itself.
What I have understood from people in the military is that it has not been made easy and that it really still needs to be done on an individual basis.
We haven't stopped in 4 years when everybody was ignoring us, and we're not going to stop for another 4, 14, or 40 years.
We are at a critical juncture, and the soul of this nation is at stake.
When we talk about orders that are unlawful, now there is a duty to disobey.
It's very powerful. I love the fact that these people are talking about the duty to disobey. It's not sort of like you can disobey, but if your commanding officer tells you to do something that you know is absolutely illegal, you must disobey. And those people did. They were a small minority, but we need to listen to them. It was explicitly illegal for the Secretary of Defense, Lloyd Austin, in 2021 to mandate an emergency use authorization vaccine. It had been established in the courts, Doe versus Rumsfeld. This was unambiguous, Polly. This is black and white. What they did to mandate an experimental shot when the licensed shot was unavailable anywhere in the United States was absolutely illegal. And as one of the people said, so slowly but surely I pray getting these people back, if they want to go back and get back pay. But as one of the commentators said, that's not enough. It's good that Pete Higgs has said that, but we have to have a real declaration by the military. What was done was illegal and it can't happen again. And people have to disobey when they're being asked to do something that's illegal.
Yeah, it's a very powerful film. I also want to say to anyone listening out there that this is Children's Health Defence Films, and we are always looking for any help we can to help make these films. So please do contact us at Children's Health Defence if you can help us pay for these movies. We have another one in the making, which we'll announce later, but both those films still need to be financed. So any help that you can give us in finishing off those films will be grateful. But whatever, that military film is going to be out in June 2026. And you're not going to want to miss this. It's important that we all have a duty to watch that to support our military. And it's been made by the same makers of Vax 1, 2, 3, Brian Burrows and Toby Tommy. So very proud of them. Michael Nevadakis in The Defender, UK activist behind Disinformation Dozen, faces possible US deportation. The US may deport Imran Ahmed, CEO of the Center for Countering Digital Hate, known as CCDH, for targeting public figures and including US Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and others on its 2021 Disinformation Dozen list. Also pressurizing social media platforms to censor free speech. Critics say CCDH claimed to protect people from misinformation. But what they really did was criminalize truth. They need to be punished somehow, Mary, because it was disgraceful what they did.
Yeah, it's a British group. It's a great start to deport Mr. Ahmed. Congress is looking into them, is investigating. Right now, the UK Online Safety Act is actually censoring Americans in addition to people in the UK. So the Trump administration is really on this, and I'm happy for that.
Okay, let's talk about wearables. This is in The Defender. Cassidy introduced a bill to require clear consent before companies share users' health data. The Health Information Privacy Reform Act would require wearable developers to explicitly notify users that HIPAA's privacy rules won't protect their data and offer opt-out features for users who don't want their data shared. But a legal expert said the bill, introduced by Senator Bill Cassidy, doesn't address location tracking, which is an issue.
The wearables issue and what happens with that data is going to become a bigger and bigger issue for the world. Interesting, in this article, they say that Chile in 2021 is the first country to legally protect neurological data and mental privacy. I actually was at a meeting in DC a couple days ago where I saw videos of the first 12 people who have a brain implant chip. And these are people who are quadriplegic. This is by Neuralink, which is, funded in part by Elon Musk. I have to tell you, Polly, it was pretty amazing to watch. And this era is dawning, right? And what is going to be what's going to happen with the data that is going to be available from people's brains? I don't know.
And then on Financial Rebellion this week, we were looking at these tattoos that, they're implanting tattoos they were showing children. Yeah. It's petrifying, to be honest with you. Okay, well, another problem here, this is Dr. McCullough sounding the alarm. Everyday pesticide exposure linked to slower, weaker sperm, even from conventionally grown fruits and vegetables. These everyday exposure disrupts sperm function and reduces fertility in otherwise healthy men. He says you need to reduce this exposure through organic food, filtered water, and regular exercise, sauna, sun use. But, the fertility issue in America really is becoming a very big problem, Mary.
I'm actually right now, Polly, up in the Berkshires, and I was on a panel last night about fertility, and it was a really good discussion. It was videotaped. Hopefully, we'll make some of it available. But the sperm count of men in the United States has declined 50% in 40 years. That's incredible. And this article by Mercola is just saying that the effects of pesticides are not just on men, but on men who have a higher level of pesticides as measured in their urine. They have slower, weaker sperm. And it's not just about fertility, Polly. Fertility is a proxy for health. If you can't make babies as a human adult, you're not healthy. So it's a really serious issue. It's a really serious issue.
It is a serious issue. It makes people, I was just talking to my husband the other day, and he's just like, I don't want to eat out anymore. I feel ill when I eat out.
Most restaurants are, unless you specifically go to a restaurant that's farm to table or organic, it's going to be conventional fruits and vegetables, and they're going to be covered in pesticides.
Let's talk about fluoride. Brenda Belletti saying the Department of Defense and dentists say there is no truth to Warren's claim that Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s plan to end water fluoridation threatens military readiness. Senator Elizabeth Warren claimed that U.S. Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s reported plan to direct the CDC to stop recommending water fluoridation threatens military readiness. But according to a memo the Department of Defense sent Warren and reported by the Military Times, there are currently no service members classified as non-deployable due to dental problem.
They do say in the article that that dental issues can be a serious one in terms of people being not deployable, which is interesting. But, there is no science that suggests that ingesting or eating and drinking fluoride in any way helps your teeth. What the science shows is that there's some evidence that topical use of fluoride can improve teeth health, but there's no evidence that taking it out of drinking water will do anything except for improve the health of our babies and toddlers who are getting neurological damage from the fluoride, which is a toxic chemical.
Well, let's talk about weight loss drugs. Brenda Belletti on this. Can weight loss drugs cause cancer? The data's mixed. The surge in the use of the growing class of GLP-1 receptor agonists, which include blockbuster drugs like Ozempic, Wegovy, and Mounjaro, to treat obesity and type 2 diabetes, is prompting scrutiny over the drug's possible links to cancer. A review by TrialSite News of the latest science found mixed results.
Polly, this is so troubling to me. They haven't been on the market that long. There's no long-term studies. There's no big studies about this, but there's already a black box warning on these drugs, Ozempic in particular, that it can cause thyroid cancer. Now these products, according to the president and, the head of CMS, Mehmet Oz, and Secretary Kennedy, the price is going to be lowered. So we're going to be selling a lot more of these. We already know the side effects are dental decay, muscle weakness, blindness, suicide, and death. I think personally, it's hard to imagine that there isn't going to be an increase in cancer from widespread use of these. Obesity is itself a health risk. There's absolutely no doubt about it. Being morbidly obese is a really serious risk. But I really worry for the people who are going to embrace Ozempic or Mounjaro as an answer to the problems, because 5 years from now, 10 years from now, maybe 5 months from now, they may have incurable cancer. So I just feel bad that of course, that message is not going to be getting through, Polly. We know that. We know pharma. People are not going to get the information that, this could cause cancer. You just don't know. There's mixed results. It's definitely troubling.
Well, that's why we do what we do, to try and break down and get the message out. I would have weren't censored on social media in so many ways.
Yeah. I did a show, Polly, on CHD TV, I think about over a year ago, but about, there's no knowledge about what this will do for developing children. And yet the American Academy of Pediatrics is suggesting that they should be using these GLP-1 inhibitors. That really frightens me because we just don't know what these things are going to do to kids. We don't know what they're going to do to adults, but we have even less knowledge about what they're going to do to kids.
Quite right. Well, that's your news for the week. So now we've got a little treat for you. We've got a little video of a recap of the conference from Matt. So thank you to Matt for making that. And then we've got geoengineering and then our story of the day. So we will see you soon. Pray big, stand firm, never settle. Mary and I'll be back next week.
Thanks, Polly. Bye, everybody.
The momentum is with this movement.
We are at this moment of truth because of each and every one of you.
We would never thought that Bobby would be our health secretary. I mean, come on, we're in the best place we've been in for ages.
Top scientists and doctors, once they look at this, join our side. The genie's out of the bottle. It's not going back. Game over. We're going to win this.
I know how many heroes are attending this conference. I know how long so many of those heroes have struggled.
Coming to CHD was the best decision that I've made probably all year.
It really is creating a community for people who have felt silenced.
I'm a physician. I refer patients to Children's Health Defense every day.
When they told me it was safe, I knew they were lying. And once you know they're lying and you start looking into those lies, wow, is that rabbit hole deep. And of course, it leads to the other vaccines too.
When we have this irrational exuberance for anything in life, what is sacrificed is safety.
And knowing what I know now, I find it astonishing that vaccination has been upheld as a normal part of life.
They're not necessary, and every single one causes harm.
We have got to take away the incentives the pediatricians are getting for vaccinating our kids. That has got to happen now.
Personally, I think that Children's Health Defense is the leader in the health freedom movement, and the health freedom movement wouldn't be anywhere without.
I think it's such a necessary organization. I'm just really happy you're doing what you're doing, and I'm thrilled that this is such a big sold-out conference.
Be proactive and recognize the possibility that we can make children well again outside the Western medical paradigm of problem, reaction, solution.
I think what they're doing, especially to give a voice to autistic non-speakers, is really incredible.
What would you like the world to know about what it is to be a non-speaker?
She spelled, it's like a Commodore 64 trying to run a Unix command.
I also want everyone to know I started a frat for non-speakers. Let me know if you want to rush.
I am really grateful to Children's Health Defense, Mary Holland, and the whole crew. I've learned so much. I've been able to help protect my family, my community.
We, the people, are waking up. We are taking back the systems that have destroyed, unfortunately, the population of this country.
I don't want another Anthony Fauci to take the reins of government and fund this dangerous research. I have recommended charges to the Department of Justice that they charge him with lying to Congress and with destroying records.
Courts follow culture, and the culture is changing. But we have had some really great victories, and we're putting the government, the federal government in particular, on notice that we're watching and that we're willing to rally together and marshal our forces and fight back. We're not going to take this crap lying down.
Every single vaccine injury and death for the last 40 years can be blamed on HHS because they never did what they are mandated by Congress to do.
This is the nation's leading conference. We're going to make sure that your children's health and everyone's health is great, and we're going to make America healthy again.
If you get the chance to come to a future event, you need to come because it will change your life for the better.
I am so proud to be part of what you do.
This kind of meeting is so essential. The courage of the parents to be counted, the courage of my colleagues here to stand up and be counted.
Those people in Washington are not the solution for our problem. We are.
Now look, I'm just a lawyer here. I'm a word merchant. I can only do my thing if I have folks like you who are motivated to make change.
I want everybody to stand up and say as loud as you can, get off the couch.
The biggest challenge that humanity is facing is really a fight for and a struggle for freedom, like what we are entitled for.
It's amazing to see this many awake people in one room and
let's keep going.
We are just at the beginning of this momentum we have out of this particular moment in time.
Every shot, whether you miss it or whether you make it, is a stand for freedom. And every stand gets us closer to victory.
You mentioned the dimming. Let's just talk about that for a second, because every week we go, watch the dimming, watch the dimming. Can you actually tell people why they should watch the dimming, what's in the dimming, and slowly tell them where to find it? So it's important. I've seen it. It's important.
Thank you, Polly. It's irrefutable proof of climate engineering operations. No, this is not just jet exhaust, as we have coming from some sources that are trying to mask this issue, marginalize this issue, and unfortunately we've had the same narrative even come out of this administration. That's very, very unfortunate. Whoever's feeding them their data again, and I would argue they're not allowed to say anything else. So we'll leave it at that. You're not a part of this kind of cabal without being beholden to this cabal. The ones we've been waiting for, we are the ones we've been waiting for. The only ones going to move this forward is us. But the bottom line is, again, the dimming and what it shows. Former U.S. Air Force generals acknowledging these operations. Former Canadian Minister of Defense acknowledging these operations. Former U.S. presidential cabinet members acknowledging these operations. Former government scientists acknowledging these operations. And these people are retired because otherwise they would not have been heard from or would have been incarcerated or worse very quickly, because there's an illegal federal gag order right now in all National Weather Service and NOAA employees, the nation's weathermen. Why would you gag the weathermen if you didn't have something huge to hide? And so we have the same kind of disinformation pushback on that point I just made. We have online sources claiming that's not true. There's no gag order on geoengineering. Of course there's not, just on geoengineering. Why would they put up a red flag like that? A gag order specifically for geoengineering would mean obviously geoengineering is going on. The gag order is on all agency operations, which includes geoengineering. Does that make sense? So we're playing a game of semantics. We have a lot of disinformation people online claiming it's just jet exhaust, and they're trying to refute this issue that anybody but the clinically blind can see, Polly. You don't have grid patterns in the sky one day, nothing the next, and X patterns, ovals, planes turning their transponders off, which only the U.S. military can do. Non-commercial flight paths. Again, we have up-close film footage of these aircraft nozzles visible turning on and off. It's happening, period.
All right, so everybody needs to be watching geoengineeringwatch.org to see the dimming and to keep up to date. You do up-to-date all the time, little segments, do you not?
I do. Our weekly broadcast, which we pay for out of pocket, no commercials, no advertising, non-political. We pay for that out of pocket on stations across the country. We try to locate them near military bases. That's a weekly update. Saturdays posted there. That's the good one-stop barometer of how bad it is. And yes, we do stay on top of all breaking weather events. We're about to have some hurricane information, Polly. That's coming. They've already scheduled Hurricane Aaron. And again, 10 days in advance, they seem to know what's going to form, what's going to happen. U.S. military's hurricane modification operations started in 1947. How far have they come since? And again, they can make or break these storms, and those that don't think they have that kind of sway over the weather system are simply wrong. The initial tests in 1947 were absolutely tiny compared to what they're doing now. Again, they dropped about 100 kilos of material into storm. Now they can drop 100 tons in a single payload, and with frequency transmission manipulations. These are all patented processes, Polly, and people are pretending this isn't going on. We're dealing with legislators across the country. Geoengineeringwatch.org. I'm on conference calls with legislators constantly that are trying to pass bans on these operations in their countries that are only symbolic, or in their state, they're symbolic bans. They can't be enforced because this is Department of Defense operations, but it matters because it's putting this issue on the radar. So we are in constant communication with legislators across the country from many different states that realize the gravity and immediacy of this threat.
Dane Wigington, thank you for educating us. Thank you for sounding the alarm. And everybody has a duty to go to geoengineeringwatch.org, learn, and do everything that Dane's just told us to do. Dane, we hope to have you back on soon. We actually do have, to our viewers listening, a very exciting segment coming up with Dane Wigington very, very shortly.
Thank you, Polly. My thanks to you and CHD for your help in this most critical battle.
My name is Eva Weeks.
And how many children do you have?
I have 7 children.
And
so
how old
beautiful.
are they now?
So I have a 12-and-a-half-year-old, an 11-year-old, a 9-year-old, almost 7, 5-and-a-half, a 3-and-a-half, and a 1-and-a-half-year-old.
And you're going to get more?
I would love it if God gives me more.
All right, so why did you stop vaccinating? Let's hear your story. Let's go back to when you were pregnant with your first child. Did you even have a conversation about vaccinations?
So I used to believe anything and everything the doctors would tell me until I saw a reaction with one of my second child. And in fact, I wrote her story. I shared it in my book here titled Let Me Lend You a Hand. It's one of the chapters how vaccine impacted my child. It's on Amazon if you're all looking for that. My second daughter, she's the one to have had the more severe experience. Now, the older 3, definitely all 3 of them have been impacted by vaccines. We've had, like I've seen swelling with the MMR vaccine in the neck of my first child. I saw bump in the arm. I saw all 3 of them had the pox from the chickenpox vaccine at the age of 1.
So they got the chickenpox vaccine and then they got chickenpox?
Yes, they did.
All 3 of them?
All 3 of them. It was a mild reaction. The doctor said it's fine.
Wait, you have the chickenpox vaccines to apparently not make you have chickenpox, and they get it?
They got it.
And the doctor said that's a mild reaction?
Yeah, it's normal. It's okay.
You can't make it up. Carry on.
That happened. And then, but with my second child, and the other thing too, all 3 of my older kids are anaphylaxis. The other ones are not. The older 2 are anaphylaxis with nuts. The third one is anaphylaxis with egg. The other ones that I stopped vaccinating, we don't have any severe anaphylaxis reaction to foods.
So you have 3 children that are vaccinated, and the rest have had nothing?
The rest of them, only the 4th one has had only the hepatitis A vaccine that they give at the hospital at birth.
Hepatitis B?
Or B, whatever. It's just one hepatitis vaccine and the vitamin K, the 4th child. Nothing else. And no other one.
And the
rest haven't had any of them.
Were you in hospital when you gave birth to them?
I was, but I refused because I'd seen reactions. So I just said, I don't want any more.
They have had nothing. And what's the difference between the vaccinated and the Hep B one, and then the other ones have had nothing?
So the older 3 are the ones that normally when there is viruses that pick up, they're the ones to get hit first by a virus, and they're the ones who kind of experience it more severely. Like, it takes them longer to get well. While the other ones, it's like getting just the sniffles and they're fine. Whatever bug they pick up, it just goes easier. They go through life easier. They don't experience it so severely. Like they heal faster, easier. Nothing, not as hard as the older 3 have it. So it's like, I see this balance and constantly. So for me, it's like, yeah, that's the vaccinated one is going to go through harder through any viruses that pick up. And then with my second one, though, the main thing of my story really is how she lost part of the memory. It felt like she couldn't remember things that she would do on a daily basis. Like, backing off a little bit, when she was 7-month-old, she had a set of vaccines, and she did something that was really strange. So with her hands, she would do this nonstop. And it was kind of disturbing. It's like, what happened? Why was she doing like that? And my husband, he's also a mental health therapist, and he comes home and he's just noticing her too. And he's like, this just doesn't look right. Why is she doing that nonstop? I said, I have no idea, but the only thing that's been different is just she had the vaccines, but the food, I'm just eating the same stuff, healthy, and lots of vegetables and fruits and meat, and nothing processed. I don't use any processed stuff. So it was just strange to me too, odd to me as a mom and to him as a father to notice that. And then at age 1, she had another set of vaccines, and we come home and she just starts running in the house back and forth nonstop. 3 days later, a couple of my friends came at different times that day, and both of them noticed as well. And they asked me, why is she running like that? Like, I don't know, but how long has she been running like that? Well, since Friday. Well, what happened on Friday? We just went to the doctor, had the vaccines, and nothing unusual. But then it was bugging me too as a parent, and they go like, wow. So that just kind of, stuck to me. At age 2, the same thing happened. This wave of hyperactivity with her. She was just running back and forth in the house, and like we went to church, and friends would notice it too and would say, why is she so hyper all of a sudden? She's just running like nonstop. She can't help it. And so at age 4, when she was going to have the other set of vaccines, I decided I was just going to separate them one at a time. And so I asked the pediatrician. Thankfully, she was willing to do that, because she didn't normally do that. But she was willing to just go one at a time every month, she said. She did one vaccine. By the time we got home, 20 minutes later, she gets out of the car, and then she just starts running again. She was literally just getting on the bed, jumping on the table, jumping nonstop. I thought, what, maybe she just has too much energy. I still didn't, was skeptical of vaccines causing any reactions. And this was like 10:30 in the morning until 3 p.m. At 3 p.m., I just kind of had enough. And I said to her, I grabbed her hands and I said, Elise, stop. Could you just please stop? When I held her hands, she was trying really hard to make eye contact with me, and she couldn't. And she does something that was just really strange and just really gave me a very, very scary feeling. I felt like I almost lost my kid. She said to me, but I can't, Mom, I can't. And she could not make eye contact with me, and she was shaking her body and just couldn't hold herself. At that point, I was just terrified. I just let go of her hands, and I go straight to the phone and call the pediatrician's office to let them know. The lady that picked up the phone, she said, I'm sorry, but Dr. So-and-so, I'm not going to say her name now. She doesn't believe to vaccine reactions. She's busy. She doesn't have time for this. And she hung up. And I was just terrified as a parent. I didn't know what to do. I just sat on the couch and was feeling sorry for myself, was feeling sorry for my child. I didn't know who to call, what to do about it. And so around 5:30, my husband comes home. He goes straight upstairs to change, and 10 minutes later he comes downstairs and he tells me, what's with Elise today? She's bouncing off the walls. And so I tell him, what I had seen, what I noticed all day and such, and he is like, oh my gosh, like this is too much. And so he's a mental health therapist, so he sits there and he just observes her for an hour, what she was doing up and down the stairs and coming and jumping. After an hour, he comes to me and he says, no, this is normal behavior. This wave of hyperactivity lasted an entire month, and then she was more normal after that. Thankfully we were living right next to a park, so every morning and every afternoon I took my kids outside of the park, and she would just run in big circles around the park and not talk or play anymore with any other children, just run. Neighbors noticed and they would say to me, why is she all of a sudden just running and she's not talking or playing with any other kid? I didn't know what to say. I was like, I don't know. And she was just running. And if I tried to stop her, she would look at me with a fearful look, like you're trying to do something wrong to me. And she would just run away from me, like scared of me when I would try and stop her. So I had to let her just completely wear herself out, like run as long as she wanted, and then I could bring her home. So this was about a month. After that, the hyperactivity died down. And then after that, I thought, well, maybe it was just that vaccine. Maybe I need to try just one more. And so I tried the next vaccine, second vaccine at the 4-year-old, and the hyperactivity was way bigger. I cannot remember. I don't. I'd have to bring it here. But the hyperactivity was way higher, and it lasted 2.5 months, and that's all I had to do. I was just bringing her every morning to the park and every afternoon at the park to just run, because at home it was just totally, it couldn't handle it. It was just too much. And then one day my husband comes home from work, and I said, well, dinner is ready. Let's pick up the toys, kids. And let's see let's get ready for dinner, pick up the toys. And she just stood there and was just standing, was not doing anything. And I thought at first she's being disobedient, right? She's not listening. The other two are picking the toys, picking up, but she's not. She was just standing there and staring at me. And I said, pick up the toys. And I was kind of getting frustrated that she's not doing that. My husband was there and he said, why don't you bend down? And she bent down. Can you pick up the toys next to you? She did. And now drop them here in this toy box. And she did. Drop them in the box. Now, he said, why don't you do that for all the toys that you see on the floor? And she did. Right after dinner, she said to me, came to me when everybody was leaving the room, Mom, she said, the reason why I wasn't picking up the toys is because I didn't know what it meant. I didn't know what to do. And that scared me again because it was just right after those vaccine reactions. And I was like, oh my goodness. But even like other processes, like she was the kind of kid before that she would just get up, and if she was hungry, she'd go straight to the fridge, get food, or open the cabinet. She wouldn't really ask me, tell me, Mom, I'm hungry. She'd just take care of herself. She was really smart at that. She was real good at that. And then one of those days, I noticed how she said to me, Mom, I'm hungry. It was like the first time, and I was like, oh, she's saying I'm hungry? Like, I was surprised because I'm like, you're not the kind of kid that tells me I'm hungry. You just take care of yourself. And so I said to her, well, why don't you just pick up a fruit from the fruit bowl then? Because it's almost lunchtime, we're gonna eat lunch soon. And she said, what fruit bowl? I said, the fruit bowl that's on the counter. She's like, where? I said, right there, and I pointed it. And she goes there and she tries to reach for the fruit. But every day she would drag the chair, bring it there, get up on the chair, take the fruit, wash it, and eat it. She didn't remember that. And I looked at her strange, like, this is strange. She's not bringing the chair. She's trying to reach, and she said to me, Ma, I cannot reach. And I said, well, drag the chair. She said, what chair? I'm like, this is a chair that she drags every day there. And she's not remembering what chair. So I said, this chair, why don't you just bring this? And so I actually brought it for her there. And I said, just, you can get the fruit now. So she got up on there and she starts eating. I was like, well, no, you normally wash the fruit. And she said, wash it? Like, strange, like, I do? Like, wash it where? And I said, in the sink that was right next to it. And it was just, all of this was giving me this feeling like, this isn't, what she does every day. She remembers to get a fruit if she's hungry and wash it and eat it. And all that process she did not remember. I had so many times I had to reteach and retrain this child on things that she already knew. And she would ask us questions all of a sudden. There was this year of the 4-year-old year when she got the 4-year-old vaccines. She would ask us questions she already knew the answers to. And me and my husband would just look at each other like, why would she ask that? She already knows that. Like, we have taught her that. Like, this is common sense stuff. She should know. Like, she kept asking over and over questions that were just not, they were part of the routine. She knew.
So was this when you realized, was this the last time?
Yeah, so we have stopped vaccines. We have not vaccinated after that.
And how is she doing now, today?
Now she's doing well. It's like she has been retrained and, rethought and all that. She still, struggles with being anaphylaxis and her other 2 sisters, but we're working on that. Hopefully we will clear it someday.
And what advice do you give to that pregnant young mum that might be watching right now? Just mother to mother.
You have your child's best interest at heart, not the doctors, not anybody else. So just pay attention to your child, listen to them, and take care of them the way you're meant to.
And so the question I have for you, that they may be asking right now, is, so your other children, you gave birth in hospital and you didn't have Hep B and vitamin K. How did you get away with that? Because the bullying is so intense.
I stood strong for it, and I said, no, thank you. We're not going to do that. Not at this time. We'll do it later. I just kept pushing it. Maybe at the doctor's office, maybe. I got away with it. Yeah. At the doctor's office, we found this pediatrician that is not pushing us for vaccines. They make us sign the waiver that, we're okay without vaccines, but he hasn't been pushing on that. And I've told him my story and such, and it was a little bit of a rough time at the beginning, and but yeah, we got through it. So,
is there anything else you want to add to the story?
Young moms, read my book about children, about their health, how to take care of babies and such, and how to protect them, because nobody else will. You are the one who is going to do that.
And how can they go and investigate?
On Amazon. It's published on Amazon. Let me
lend
lend you a hand.
Thank you. One last question. So, from you, who is healthier, the vaccinated or the unvaccinated child?
The unvaccinated are healthier, a lot healthier. There's a significant difference. I notice it on a regular basis. I don't have to deal with food allergies with them, and I don't have to deal with being sick, severely sick when they pick up something. It just goes like it's nothing, just the sniffles. Something else too that I've discovered along the way, I felt like God was really pushing me to go see our immunologist. And this was at the beginning of COVID. After about 3 months, I decided, okay, well, I'm gonna go and see her, and this question just kept popping in my head all the time. What happened to my children? How did they become anaphylaxis, my older 3? And so I go there and I ask her. At first she gave me the answer saying that, well, it's genetics. And I said, well, I would love to do a genetic test, and where can I get that done? And she said, no, you don't need to do that. And then she said, well, it's also if the parents have food allergies, then the children will have food allergies as well. I said, well, me and my husband don't have any, and we've done blood tests before. We have done both IgE and IgG testing. But I would love to do that through you. Can we get that done? And she said, no, you don't have to do that. And finally, she just showed me that I was really wanting an answer for what happened. She just kind of bent down her head and she said to me, well, we've recently found out that immunizations do cause sedation, so we're working on a new vaccine to desensitize you from vaccinations. But I'm not ready to send... Say that
again slowly. We're working on a vaccine to do what?
To desensitize you from vaccinations. To desensitize children that have been vaccinated from the vaccinations. It's a new vaccine we're working on, and I'm not ready to send you there yet, she said. And they're working also on an arm patch where they're wanting to keep the child who is vaccinated, who has allergies to certain foods, nuts or whatever it is. They will hold this arm patch and they will have to eat nuts or whatever that they're allergic to on a daily, regular basis, because if they don't, then they go into anaphylactic shock, which makes no sense, either one of those. They're both, another market to sell another product, another vaccine or an arm patch. That makes no sense, because who's going to eat what they're allergic to every single day of their life so they don't go into anaphylactic shock, right? And for me, it's like, why then vaccinate the child if you have found out as an immunologist that they do cause sedation? Why in the first place create that market for it? And then just to sell another vaccine, because it makes no sense. And I asked her even, does this vaccine heal you? She said, no, you're going to have to keep taking it. It makes no sense, right?
Dangerous stuff is what I think.
It's interesting that immunologists do know, but they're not willing to share it. They don't share it with the pediatricians. They don't. And it's just mind-blowing to me that they are hiding it. They have the evidence, they have everything, but they're not willing to share it.
Thank you, and thank you for telling the story.